first question is, what were the 1967 Detroit riots?
So they were started and I think there was some kind of a brawl at a bar, and it went out into the streets, and the next thing you know, they were setting fires and turning cars over and that kind of stuff.
How long did they last?
Well, you know, then it spread. It spread up that one street, down another, and next thing you know, a whole neighborhood was engulfed, and everybody was frightened. Probably only lasted a few days, but then, you know, things were never the same. People really were scared.
Number 2, what was your attitude like during this time? Were you afraid?
Not really. We were just far enough away that we weren't really involved in it in any way, and I wasn't really afraid.
Did you know anyone that was particularly really involved in it?
Not really.
Okay, number 3, what were some of your most influential or important memories from this time?
Adults were saying, oh, here it comes, and our neighborhoods are going to be taken over by the blacks and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
Which is bad.
Okay, question number 4, do you agree with how the government handled the situation?
Well, they came in and they did, put things in order, and things went on for a couple days, I guess, but I really don't have any recollection of how they handled it.
Number 5, how did the leaving of Detroit citizens affect you and your family?
The first family that moved out in the middle of the night, had never told anyone they were moving, and next thing we know, a black family moved in, and we're like, wow, and that just sort of set it off in our street. Next thing you knew, it was happening over and over. First of all, people were just selling their houses without telling the neighbors that they were moving, or they would just move out in the middle of the night or something.
So it was all very secretive.
Yeah, it was very secretive. But then there was a core of us who said, well, if you don't move, they can't move in. What's wrong with you people?
Right.
But one by one, over the years, they all more or less left.
So were you one of the last families to stay?
Yes, we were. Neighbors on both sides of us, and across the street, down the street, they were all. But there was a solid core of us that said, well, my husband's grandfather got involved with the neighborhood government kind of thing.
Right.
And he president of that. So he said, well, I can't move out.
Yeah.
So we did move because we needed more room, but we just moved about a mile away to a much nicer neighborhood,
Yeah.
Or whatever. But we've always gotten along with our black neighbors, except there were some of them that were most of them were really very nice. And most of them, one was a cop, and I remember he was fit right in with the people. He joined our church and there was one neighbor that moved in right next door to us, actually, and they were pulling stuff that I just didn't care for. They would have strange parties or people coming up and doing things back in our day, Then there were a lot of police chases through the neighborhood with people breaking in and all that kind of thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
And one day this guy was running across the lawn, and I was talking to my neighbor from across the street, and she says, they were in their car, and they said, you better get in the house. And they kind of threw themselves down in their seats, and I ran up to the front door of the porch, and I'm pounding on the door. Unlock the screen. And finally someone came in, and we were kind of cowering.
Right.
Because we heard gunshots, and the police were running around, and it was really scary. That was scary. And in fact, at that point, I said, this is it.
What was the aftermath of the riots like, and how did this affect your family?
Well, it affected them when they went to school. Their schoolmates were changing to a black and white school. And the first ones, they were all accepted, and everyone was trying to be nice and what have you. But then, when the balance turned, then it didn't take more than a year for everybody else to clear out, right?